Okay, we are live. And I want to welcome and introduce Matushka. If I say Matushka, she gets mad at me and tells me that she's not just a womb, she's a woman. So this is Matushka Mary Ann. So, just to kind of break into this for our audience the other day or a month ago or so when Matushka Olga had been glorified and canonized and recognized, I guess would be a good way of saying. I jokingly said that she's the Matushka of all of Alaska, and you're the Matushka of all of Arizona.
Oh, I don't think I'm the Matushka of all of Arizona.
Well, you're my Matushka.
I may be the oldest Matushka.
Well, no, let's say most experienced, probably. Which brings us right into. We'll get started. So, you were born and raised Orthodox.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about where you grew up, your experience as a child in the church, any rebellious moments in your life that would be juicy tidbits, and if not, that's better yet. But go ahead.
I was raised in Buffalo, New York, in the Carpatho-Russian Church.
Mm-hmm.
My parents were older. My mom was a Sunday school teacher. She worked. My social life was the church.
Okay.
We were there there was something going on during the week. We were there. I was basically at the church, was in Sunday school when I was old enough and they didn't have enough teachers. I became a Sunday school teacher. We then got a young priest, and he and his wife became friends.
And this was all in Buffalo?
This was all in Buffalo.
Okay.
St. Mary's Orthodox Church.
Is that church still there?
The church itself, the
But they moved
building,
locations?
the building is not there. There was a fire in
Okay.
the 80s, and the building just was totally destroyed.
Okay.
But they have a new church in a suburb now.
Okay, right.
But the young priest and his wife were there, and we became friends. We were roughly around the same age. And I became the youth advisor for the ACRY, American Carpatho-Russian Youth, the juniors. And our chapter was very active. In fact, we went to the ACRY convention in 1972, and I got a scholarship. One of the girls was made Miss Junior ACRY. The club was named the best club in the diocese at the time. It was just a real active church.
There wasn't like any bikini contest.
Oh,
fitting or
no,
anything.
no,
Okay,
no,
good.
no,
Just,
no. It was evening gowns.
It was not Miss America.
No, it was not Miss America. No talent competition.
Okay.
So, I became really close with our priest's wife. And in the Carpatho-Russian Church, the priest's wife is called Pani, which means lady. And we were baking Christmas cookies. And our church was in a bad neighborhood. It was a rough neighborhood at the time. And she and I were in the rectory baking cookies for old calendar Christmas, because our church was still on old January 7th.
Right.
And we were baking cookies, and Father had gone on a sick call or something. And the phone rang, and she answered the phone, and she's giving directions to someone. And I said, "Oh, who was that?" She said, "I don't know." And I said, "We are two young women alone here, and you're giving directions." Well, an hour or two passed by and no one showed up. So it was kind of nerve-wracking. Well, then the phone rang again, and it was my future husband.
Wow.
He was in seminary. They had both been in seminary together at Christ the Savior. And then my husband transferred to St. Tikhon's, and he was on his way back to St. Tikhon's after Christmas, and he was going to stop for 2 hours for lunch. He ended up getting in a car accident and stayed 3 weeks.
Oh my gosh.
And the rest is why I'm here now.
Wow. So you wrecked his life, kind of.
Yeah, I wrecked his life.
No,
Right. So we actually met in a
So he must have been
station.
hurt pretty bad then.
He was not hurt. His car was banged up.
Oh, okay.
But the car was so damaged, he had to stay 3 weeks
Yeah.
till they fixed his car.
Gotcha.
So he spent Russian Christmas with us, and the rest
Because
is
he was
history.
OCA then? Or is
He
that-
was OCA.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
He was OCA then. So we, we got to know each other and ended up getting married a year and a half later.
So what year did you get married?
73,
What date?
July 28th.
Okay. All right. So just had an anniversary
It
then.
would have been 52 years.
Wow. God bless.
Thank you.
So that was in Buffalo,
That
and
was in
so you
Buffalo.
got married in 73.
We got married in 73 in Buffalo, right before his senior year, and we moved to St. Tecons.
Okay.
We rented a retired judge's summer home for the winter, and it was about 4 miles from the seminary. And I graduated from college nursing school at the time, and I worked at a hospital in Carbondale, and he finished his senior year at St. Tecons. And then we were sent to his first parish in Lublin, Wisconsin. Lublin, Wisconsin.
I've never heard of that. I know Wisconsin pretty well.
Lublin is 50 miles from, it's 25 miles from Medford, 50 miles from Wausau, 50 miles from Eau Claire.
Okay.
And
Over in the western part of the state.
it's cow country.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dairy.
And it was a small parish, and you sent 2 kids from Cleveland and Buffalo to the farm during harvesting season, and the people just wanted church on Sundays. They were busy. They were
Sure,
farmers. They
sure.
were all farmers, and there were only 150 people in the town.
Wow.
The sign was out front. We had the house, the church, and the cemetery, and it was 100 miles to Minneapolis. We drove there often.
Just to feel some
Just
city.
to feel some city. Yeah. The city kids needed to feel some city.
Yeah, sure.
So we were only there for a few months.
Okay.
It just wasn't a good fit. You don't put city
Oh, yeah,
kids
that's hard.
with farms. So
Yeah, that's
we
right.
moved back to Buffalo for a while, and he served the parish where my mother was baptized. And we were there for about a year, then moved to Pennsylvania. We moved to Jeanette, Pennsylvania, and served a parish there. And then Phillipsburg and Du Bois. And in 1992, we came out to Arizona. Bishop at that time, Benjamin,
Mhm.
called and said, "Hey, I've got a parish out here." He said, "Come on out." So we did.
And that was St. Peter and Paul.
That was St. Peter and Paul.
And so how long were you there?
About 5 years.
Okay.
Then Father's health started getting, he had some heart trouble and some lung trouble. So he worked with the homeless for a little while. It was the outreach center of St. Melania, and did that until his health, he could no longer do it. So
Now,
he retired.
I remember talking to him, and he talked about being a substitute teacher for quite a
was.
while. So was he a substitute teacher even when he was at St. Peter and Paul then, or what?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, he got his teaching certification and his degree at St. Vincent's College in Latrobe, Pennsylvania,
Okay.
home of Arnold Palmer and Mr. Rogers,
Oh, okay.
and Bob, my son.
And then,
And
yeah,
my
there you
son,
go. There you go. But he doesn't wear a sweater like they do.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't wear those sweaters.
Yes.
So
So he was here for 5 years. So he was a full-time priest as far
Yes.
as, when I say full-time, we're always full-time, but he was a bivocational priest
right,
when he got here,
right.
but not
right.
when he was out east.
He was full time in the parishes
Yeah.
there, but they were small parishes, and he was able to teach school part time.
Okay. All right. Gotcha. Okay. And so you moved here what year?
92.
Okay. And so you were at St. Peter and Paul for 5 years, you
About
said?
5 years.
And then you mentioned the homeless. He had some kind of a little chapel or something,
There was a
right?
chapel at 15th Street and Van Buren,
Okay.
and we were there for 3 or 4 years, and then, like I said, his health got bad.
So that's an interesting transition of going from being a parish priest to working in a homeless type of a ministry and stuff.
Mhm.
And I know, like, you help with the homeless bags and things like that here at the church. So obviously you had some experience in that and stuff, but that had to be quite a transition for him.
It was, but he enjoyed it.
Yeah.
He enjoyed doing that.
Yeah. So what year was it that he kind of stopped being attached to a parish and being
I think it was 98.
Okay, all right.
Around 98.
Okay, all right. And during this whole time, what were you doing? Sitting at home eating bonbons or what?
No, I was school nurse.
Okay,
I had a job as a school nurse in the Washington district here.
okay.
So I did that
When did you get your nursing degree?
1973.
Oh, okay. So when you guys got married, you were already a
I
nurse.
had graduated. Yeah, my
Okay.
parents wouldn't let me get married till I graduated.
Okay. Well, that served you well, but your
It
whole
did.
family, I mean,
Nursing has served me well. I mean, it's now 52 years,
yeah.
and I'm still working part-time as home health nurse.
Okay, all right. And so how about kids? You got any kids? I know you do.
Yes,
so
I
go
have
ahead.
two children. My son is a deacon at St. Peter and Paul, and he's married to a wonderful girl, Heather's Matushka Elizabeth, and they have one little boy who's 3. And my daughter is married to a young man from Alabama who was Orthodox and actually found her at this church. Like you said, she would find someone at this church. He came to visit, and the rest is history. They've been married 3 years.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. And little Bobby's how old now?
3.
Okay, 3. And so I know you divide your time a lot between here and St. Peter and Paul and stuff. And so thus the title Matushka of all of Arizona. You have a lot of influence and a lot of impact, not here, only here, but over there because of the past as well as the present.
Yeah.
And so I mean, here you are. Your husband's. How long has it been since Father departed this
4
life?
years.
4 years. Wow. Okay.
4.5 years.
Okay.
It was January of 21.
Okay. All right. But you didn't just kind of ride off into the sunset and take your leave. You stayed very involved in church life.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of all I've known besides nursing and being a mom. I've always been involved in the church.
Gotcha. So you don't know what else to do, so to speak.
No, I mean, I've always volunteered with things too. When my daughter taught here, I volunteered in the classroom after I retired from being a school nurse, and I've just always been involved in the church. It's always been part of my life.
What were some of your like as you look back on your life as the wife of a parish priest? What were some of your joys during that time? Anything come to mind?
I was always really active. We did a lot of things at all his parishes. I mean, we did a lot of fundraising. They were small churches in Pennsylvania. We did a lot of fundraising, but fundraising to the tune of church bazaars and food festivals and things like that, but on a small scale, not like there are festivals here that go 3 days. They'd be 1 day, and
Right.
but I was involved in that. I was involved in teaching Sunday school. Sometimes I was involved in the choir.
Okay. Any experience where like dealing with a parishioner that was maybe just in need or in crisis or anything like that? You as the parish mama, was there any memories with that?
Some. We had an arrangement at one of our parishes because we were kind of behind a railroad track.
Okay.
So we would get people coming to the door asking, but Father was in and out a lot, and we had an arrangement with a little coffee shop down the hill, and they were Greek Orthodox, and we had an arrangement that if someone came, if we called, feed them, we'd come and pay for it afterwards. We took care of things that way.
That's neat. That's neat. So literally, I mean, kind of the proverbial hobo type of a thing.
It was
Yeah,
actually
yeah.
a hobo type thing.
I mean, because that's not a term that we hear much.
No.
I don't know if it's politically incorrect anymore.
I don't know, but basically,
But growing
it
up,
was,
that's what we called them, you know.
right,
And
on
yeah,
the railroad tracks,
Yeah.
and if they needed something, but Father didn't really want me letting people in the house,
sure.
so we would call
Yeah,
Ange, and she would give them lunch, and then we would just go down and take care of it.
that's really neat. That's fantastic. You know, I grew up in. Now I'm thinking it's a big city compared to what you were accustomed when you first went out to Wisconsin, but a little town of about 3,000 people has a railroad line that goes right down through the center. And as a kid, I remember that we would have people drift through town and stuff, and my mom was really good about saying, well, we'll give them a little bit of something and stuff. Even back then, though, you didn't necessarily give them money.
No,
You gave them food, you gave them some clothing if that's what they needed and stuff, and then they would hop on those trains and away they go. It's kind of a wild lifestyle. So I had, as a kid, I had like a fear and a curiosity about
Right.
all of that.
right.
So, what were some hard times as a parish priest life?
A lot of the people were set in their ways, and there's a Slavic phrase, "Segda tak bilo," which means it was always that way. So they weren't up for change in parishes. If you wanted to change or get new icons or get new this or new that for the church, there was a struggle to do that, and the people there weren't really taught to tithe.
Okay.
So finances were tough. Hence I did some nursing too while Father had a parish or parishes,
Yeah.
and and he became a teacher and whatever. So.
Yeah. It's I think that's universal with small churches and stuff. There's that real dynamic of tight purse strings, and yet people don't want to embrace any changes to see the possibility of something better transpiring and stuff. And so then the purse strings get tighter and tighter and tighter because there's really no vision and stuff. So you've been at here at Exaltation how long?
Oh, we were in the old building.
We were in the old building. Yep.
Um,
Must be 9 years now or something.
It's got to be.
Yeah.
It was shortly, I think, after you came.
And I've been here 10 and a half years.
Okay, so probably more than 9 years.
So you went from a very traditional cradle Orthodox churches where the number of converts you could probably count on one hand,
If that.
to here you are in a parish now that's got 75 to 80% converts.
Oh, I think it's more than that. I think it's more than. I think
It
we
probably
counted.
just feels like it's more than that.
I think there's only 5 of us that
Okay.
are cradle.
Okay.
I mean, we checked, when and there are 5 of us. Our ladies went out to dinner,
Uh-huh.
and well, Danielle corrected me, but I said I was the only cradle Orthodox at the table, and then she corrected me because the baby was.
Oh
was
my
cradle.
gosh.
Yeah, she said he was cradle, but
Yeah.
but of the adults, yeah, we are so fortunate though to have the converts, the seekers.
Mhm.
And most churches have that now.
They do.
I mean, it's not only in Phoenix.
No, right.
My daughter was saying that they've had baptisms, almost every week they have a baptism in Birmingham, Alabama. And I know, St. Peter and Paul has a lot of converts.
Yeah. I think the only thing that was maybe a little different is that we started getting converts. I think the Canes and Raymond and a few others have been here and Colette have been here for 8 or 9 years
Right.
as well. And so we started seeing that little trickle all the way back then, but it's a full-on flood right now.
It really is. It's
so
wonderful though.
yeah,
It's great. And I mean, we lose a few, but that's to be expected.
Yeah. Yeah.
Orthodoxy's not easy.
No, that's right. That's right. Yeah, it's not for the faint-hearted.
Right.
Somebody said it's the Marines of the Christian world, and then the Coptics are the special forces. I think there may be some truth to that.
Yeah.
So it is wonderful to have lots of converts and stuff, but I'm sure you have experienced some frustrations with that at times, as I have, even though I'm a convert. So how do you deal with that? Like when a young man comes into the church, because it's always those young men, and they don't know protocol, they don't know boundaries and stuff, and they just kind of rush in there and like a bull in a china shop. How do you deal with that as far as like?
Okay, I have corrected.
Okay, all right. Okay.
I have corrected.
And that's
several
okay.
Here.
Yeah.
I have a hard time being gentle with correction. Sometimes I just want to go, stop that. But I mean, it's been accepted by the ones I've corrected. And that I've told you that I have corrected them.
Absolutely, which I'm all for. Yeah.
That when they come and complain to you. But no, I do say, you don't do that.
Yeah. Well, and I think just as a priest, I mean, sometimes it's nice to have somebody else do the correcting. And so, you not only having been Orthodox your whole life, but also having parish experience as a priest's wife and all those things, I trust your judgment to know when something needs to be said. And it's kind of like a little test. If somebody gets offended by being corrected and directed, well, maybe there's some deeper issues going on there too, and yet I know just conversations with you, you're always like checking in to say, did I go over too far over, or
Yeah, and I've always wanted to do that because I know, I don't want to step on Preacasa's toes. And, I speak my opinion, and, I keep coming to you and saying, if I've overstepped my bounds, please let me know.
Yeah. Well, what's the bounds? I mean, the bottom line is that in the scripture, St. Paul says to the older women, he says, instruct the younger women. And we live in a world where pretty much everybody's going their own way and doing their own thing. And, so oftentimes I'll get ready for bed, or I'll wake up in the middle of the night, one of the two, and I'll think, oh my gosh, I've been so hard on so-and-so. And then I stop and think, well, you know what? In many instances, they didn't have a mom or dad that was really attentive to, shall we say, training them up. I remember we had a young guy in the church, this was years ago, that he was trying to light one of the candles that's the long glass, vigil lamp. And he was taking a taper, and he would light the taper, and he would stick it in there, and then it would just go out. And after watching that for a few minutes, I said, give it to me. And so he handed it to me, and I took the vigil candle, and I turned it upside down, and I said, light this, and he lit it, and I stuck it up in there, and immediately the flame caught on the wick, and he looked at me as though I'd performed a magic act. And I said, you weren't in Boy Scouts, were you? And he said, no, I wasn't. And it's a silly, but it's a serious example of where lots of these young men and young women, but especially young men, it seems, they just don't know how to do things, and they don't know, kind of what's right and proper, and then they want to have a meaningful relationship with a young lady, and they're scared to death to even say hello, and so it's kind of a long way of saying I think they need that mothering, the fathering, the uncling, You know,
Mhm.
I mean, somebody to draw alongside of them to help them, grow and stuff. So, if you had some advice for the converts, what would you say to them?
Take it slowly.
That's great. Yeah.
Take it slowly. Don't rush into it. There's just too much to rush into.
Yeah.
Learn slowly.
Yeah.
Watch, ask questions, read, come to your class.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And don't think you know everything.
Yeah, because it's just a matter of time before it's disproved.
Right.
Yeah, and I think especially given the reading and studying and stuff is absolutely right on. But unfortunately, oftentimes the converts will become self-appointed experts because they've immersed themselves in all this information, and then they come in here, and this is where the rubber hits the road, and attending church services and just kind of enduring and stuff. That's a tough process.
It is.
So I remember when Praetasa Laurel and I first started going to the Orthodox Church up in Prescott, I was pretty much already convinced to become Orthodox because of the theology, because I'd done some research and it answered a lot of questions that I'd had as a Baptist pastor and things for a long, long time. But the worship was so different that we left the services that first day, and I said, well, it's going to take a little getting used to with this worship. And I said style, which is terrible, but I did. And the reality is the liturgy is demanding.
It is.
It is. Yeah. So I had a young guy come to me the other day and say, how do I get focused during the liturgy and stuff? So any advice to somebody whose brain's wandering around?
Oh, my brain wanders around too. I mean, I have to say.
Oh, wait a minute. I mean, you haven't gotten over that yet?
Well, it's so familiar. I've done it since I was a baby.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've been at liturgies forever, and my mind wanders through it. And just try and follow a liturgy book.
Mm-hmm.
Follow that. Try and bring yourself back to what's going on.
That's wonderful. Yeah. Yeah. I say it's wonderful because that's pretty much what I told him. Great minds,
Okay.
No, but the thing is coming back to being present, right?
Right.
And when the service is an hour and a half, or heaven help us when we're in the canons of St. Andrew and things like that, and they go on for 2 or 3 hours, it's a constant struggle to remain attentive,
It is.
And so yeah, that's good. Just come back. I heard somebody say the other day, everything you need to know about what the Orthodox Church believes is contained in the hymnography, and in particular what we say from the strana, from the chanter stand. And man, if that's not the truth,
It is. You will learn.
Yeah.
You will learn about Orthodoxy
Yeah.
and history, church history, and
Yeah.
and basically 70, 80 years ago, like in my home parish, a lot of them didn't read. A lot of them were immigrants.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't read, but they learned about the church and about the traditions, both with capital T and little t, from the readings and the hymnography,
Mm-hmm.
like you said.
Yeah, that's good. So I mentioned a few minutes ago. Well, before I say that, what's your favorite service in the? You can have 2, maybe 3. What's your favorite services?
Resurrection Mass.
Okay.
I love
Okay.
Resurrection.
All right.
Resurrection
Why?
Mass. I love the music, the joy, after Lent, and all the sadness and the trials and whatever. I just think Resurrection Mass is beautiful. I like Vespers too.
Me too.
Vespers.
Yeah, I do love Resurrection Mass as well. Yeah, but Vespers
Vespers is probably
is way up there at the top,
Yeah.
isn't it? It's
Yeah.
so quiet.
Peaceful.
Peaceful.
It tells the story.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like we were talking about, people like to hear stories.
Yeah.
You always hear a story at Vespers, a story of a saint, of a feast, of Vespers.
Yeah. No, it's good. That's good. So I said that St. Paul said, you older women, didn't say old women, he said older.
Yeah, well.
Teach the younger women. So I'm going to give you two categories. You're going to have to address both, but the first one is, what would you say to a young mom in the church? Any advice that you would have on any topic, what comes to mind?
It's your job to teach your child while in church. You may not be praying while you are in church and services, while you have a small child, because I think it's your duty to teach them how to behave and how to act and teach them about things, point out things to them. Watch, Father's going to bring the gospel out. Watch, we're going to say the Lord's Prayer now. Watch, it's time for communion. I would tell.
That's wonderful.
I would tell a mom, and I know so many moms, and I was one of them, that, well, I don't know why I go to church because I'm not praying. But at that point, it's not your job. Your job is to be the mom to train them up in the way they will go.
Yeah. That's good. Years ago, when Laurel and I had first become ordained as a Baptist pastor, we'd gone to this little church. I was going to be the senior pastor there. The church which she grew up in and that I was ordained in was only 10 or 15 minutes away. And I remember saying to her, because the church I was appointed to, extremely small, had no Sunday school, had no program for the kids. And I said, well, why don't you just take the girls, our daughters, and go to the other church, and then after Sunday school, just come to our church. And she said, no, these kids need to be right here with us. And this is a learning experience for them too. And I thought, man, what a rock star. I mean, she,
True.
And the thing is that when the kids are misbehaving and stuff, and like you said, you might not be praying, but you have the distinct blessing and honor to be the mom that's helped shaping those little lives and stuff. And I see the kids around here. I mean, sometimes it's, sounds like school recess has been let out, but then you see them start to grow a little bit.
And you hear them singing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
It's wonderful.
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
Yeah. Not an unmarried mom. Maybe you have some advice for them too, but no, an unmarried young lady that's just looking at her life ahead of her. What would you say to her?
That one's hard. Sounds trite, but keep the faith. Pray.
Mm-hmm.
Accept God's will.
Mm-hmm.
But pray, ask God what you think you should, what you would like your life to be, but don't expect him to say that's what your life's going to be.
Yeah.
Accept what he gives you, but always be faithful.
Yeah. That's really good. And I would add to it, don't compromise.
No.
Don't just settle for any Joe that comes along.
No.
And especially one that's, got some serious issues and think you're going to be able to change them, because you're not.
Yeah. We almost faced that, but we were fortunate.
Yes. Thank God.
Thank God.
Yeah. Because that can be hell on earth, and I think, unfortunately, so many people are lonely and this is my only shot. And then they compromise, and then they find out that's not what they had bargained for.
Right.
So
and God has a plan.
Yeah. So I'll conclude with this. We went through an hour and it was easy. conclude with this is that ironically, when I first asked you if you would do this, you were a little bit like, okay, I need to think about this more. No surprise questions, and yet neither one of us knew what any of the questions were going to be. And but interestingly enough, I believe you said both of your children had requested for you to write down your stories.
Yes, both of them had given me a gift. I have two, and I haven't done it. But both of them had given me books that tell me your story, Mom. And they both want to know, my life and whatever, so they can pass it down.
Yeah,
I am really blessed. I have two wonderful children.
you do have two wonderful children.
I have two wonderful children who have both stayed in the faith. I wasn't sure that would happen when they were teenagers.
Yeah.
I mean, they weren't bad. They always
No, I
went to
understand.
church. They, but I didn't think they'd be as involved as they are. And they both are.
Yeah.
And their spouses are too.
Yeah.
Which,
Their whole family. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
And not just going, totally involved.
Totally involved.
It's their life focus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have friends at the parishes,
Yeah.
and it's wonderful.
Yeah. Well, this is the first installment of you telling your stories, but
Okay.
this doesn't mean you get to ignore the books.
Okay.
So continue on, because I'm sure you've got a lot more wonderful stories. And I can simply say, and you know this is true, we love having you here.
Thank you.
And it's been a real blessing, and it was wonderful that Father Radion of blessed memory was with us as well. And I'm just so tempted to tell the story where he said I looked like some kind of a hobo because I'd shaved my beard down to nothing, but I won't tell that story.
Okay.
Maybe
Oh,
I
yeah.
just
Maybe
did.
you just did.
Maybe I just
Uh-huh.
actually I just
I
came
know.
across that picture yesterday. So
That's
yeah,
funny.
oh, he was so funny sometimes with
Oh,
his
he was.
directness. Yeah,
Dry sense
Oh,
of humor,
yeah,
and
yeah.
but he was, but he stood his ground.
he did, and you know what? Yet he stood his ground with graciousness, especially in these later years. I will tell this story to finish up. I never forget. Sunday morning, we're getting ready for liturgy, and I stepped up to the royal doors and barked out a command to Philip or somebody, and I stepped back, and he goes, "Oh, that's the way you do it," which meant I was totally out of line as a young priest, and as a convert. I didn't know the decorum and stuff, but it's like those things stuck in
with
my
you.
head, and so yeah, he was a real delight. So.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for doing this, and we'll
You're
post
welcome.
it and let the kids know that it'll be on there for them to watch, okay? All right.
you.
God bless. Let me just turn this off. Gonna turn this one off too. What's this
I
say?
have to tell you the scripture from yesterday. Yesterday, I think it was, or the day before. No, the day before was